It's the most wonderful time of the year, and no, I'm not talking about Christmas. It's Motocross of Nations week. There is nothing that compares to this week. Post-event, no one really cares. What does it mean? It carries into nothing. But the build-up to the Monster Energy FIM Motocross of Nations is like nothing I see anywhere else in the world. And so we're here, loud, proud, ready to dissect all that is going to happen at Ironman in just a couple of days' time. From teams to riders to paddock stuff, it's all coming out over the next hour. Of course, I have to thank Polisport and Prox Racing Parts for their support of this very podcast. They make it possible. They have done all MXGP season, and we thank them dearly for that. They make it possible for me, Lewis Phillips, to talk to the man next to me, Adam Wheeler, who we know very well by now. We don't need to introduce him. He's written a book, he does podcasts, but you know that. So it's Adam. Hi, Adam.
Lewis, I was really thrown by your kind of Christmas link for the introduction. And also, I think it's quite well known about your theories on Christmas and gift giving. So I'm really confused right now. Are you embracing an early kind of spirit of Navidad or what?
So, I don't know if you've seen the Santa Claus movies.
Well, there's loads of them.
But is that the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen, Buzz Lightyear?
Yeah, I know of it. I don't think I've seen it.
Well, it's all about Christmas spirit being down, and Santa has a dial on his sleigh that shows where the Christmas spirit is. If I am the Christmas spirit for the Motocross of Nations, the dial has broken because it's over-exceeded its capacity.
Okay. So you're riding the nation's sleigh and you're cranking up the dial.
It is my Christmas spirit alone which is causing the sleigh that is the Motocross of Nations to fly.
Okay.
And
I have an early question for you. Are you this...
I'd imagine you have a lot after that analogy.
Yeah. Are you this excited because it's Ironman and a brand new track, or do you think the enthusiasm would be this high if we were back in France or at Matterley Basin?
Great question, because I was going to get into this. My enthusiasm is actually, believe it or not, backed off a little bit because I don't believe that Ironman is going to be that good. I generally think that the United States Motocross of Nations are worse. So for that reason, we're...
Oh my God. Just throwing grenades in the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
It's Motocross of Nations week, Adam. This is where we bring our hot takes. We've been building for this moment.
No, I thought Redbud was pretty momentous. No. The second one was even better than the first one.
And I'm curious about your impressions of Ironman, never been there before. Right. I don't think it's a great Motocross of Nations venue. The fans will be very segregated, similar to Redbud in a way. There's one half, there's another half. I don't think the atmosphere will be encapsulated as well as Ernée, Matterley, and whatever else, Majora. So for that reason, I feel like it'll be a little subpar, but I think that the Christmas spirit in the paddock will more than make up for it. And I got to say, in no way am I drumming this up for the podcast or trying to be funny or trying to be special. Yep. I've genuinely lost sleep the last 2 nights because I'm starting to stir a little bit.
What, you stir from excitement or from worry that it's actually going to fall flat?
No, excitement for the event, but worry that I'm not doing enough.
Well, from my point of view, I'm definitely looking forward to this edition more. There's a couple of, which we'll get to, high-profile exceptions, which is a real shame. But I'm looking forward to this more than last year at Matterley Basin, which... ironically, then produced some of the most exciting Motocross of Nations actions we've seen in a couple of years. I'm sure Jett Lawrence will have memories of Tim Geiger's altercation on the last lap going into this edition on his mind. And, not purely because it's been on social media and flapping around again these last few days, but because it was just a stonking end to the season. But I just, the nations, I think we mentioned it last year, is now at a point where the size and the profile of the meeting means that only a certain amount of motocross tracks can handle it. I mean, you don't seem to have too much faith in Ironman. I've never been to Ironman, so I'm actually quite looking forward and casting my own assessment when the race goes down there.
Yeah, when was the last time you went to a new motocross track? To you? It must have been 2018 Redbud, I'd guess. A long time ago. Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it must be. for the nations, they even tried some wacky experiments. Like we'll talk about this a bit later. 2009 Franciacorta was like a sort of temporary bill within like a very small Italian road race circuit facility, and by all accounts it worked. But this race has had sort of moments of experimentation like that. Otherwise, it's just been cycled around similar venues. ONA we've been to, or we seem to go to every couple of years, every 5 years at least. Matterley Basin is also something of a backup. If there's any kind of hesitation or concern about a possible nations venue, then Matterley seems to step in, and of course it has most of the infrastructure and the size and scope to cope with the nations. But I'm kind of hoping now that we're well beyond post-pandemic, that there will be a few venues that will be able to consider the financial hit or the financial weight of staging the nations, maybe somewhere like Hidden Valley in Australia, or I don't know. I mean, let's wait and see. I mean, there's rumors that Brazil is going to come back on the MXGP calendar, which we still have yet to see for 2026.
And
also Thailand. So
they went public in Australia with saying you will see it this week, which is so classic MXGP with the calendar. Like we just
but look, I'm not complaining about that. It's unusual. That's why I mention it. But I'm not complaining about it because I think we should be in a position now with the sport where we don't need to make continual calendar changes, which seem to happen from 2021 up until 2023. I mean, there was a real kind of 2 to 3 year phase where there was a lot of changes, a lot of unexpected kind of developments, and it's not. It doesn't ring of a sport with a great deal of health or stability if that's happening. So I mean, it's still happening in MotoGP, for example. So I think if in-front motor racing are taking their time over the 2026 calendar, then good for them, and hopefully it will solidify.
Do you still care about the Motocross of Nations? Like, compare it to your feelings about the event in 2005, 2015. Like, is your vibe as high as it once was, or have you become a little bit disillusioned with it like everyone else?
No. I'm still very enthusiastic about it. I mean, it's a one-off. I hate it when people say it's the Olympics of motocross, because it isn't. It's like the World Cup. I mean, when the Olympics is a series of 30 to 40 sports with different kind of nations, and the motocross is just one day, one sport, with different kind of countries. So therefore, it is like the FIFA World Cup. So yeah, there is a special kind of anticipation and atmosphere about it. There are also things about the event I don't like. Maybe we can mention that sort of later on. But every year it just seems to be, it's like motocross with a twist. And I thought the only thing that could really threaten this event, and maybe that's the reason why we haven't seen it yet, would be an MXGP AMA Pro National combo. Because that would really, I think, bring the creme de la creme of motocross together, and that could possibly outstrip some of the uniqueness of the nations. What about you?
Well, you know where I'm at.
I guess you answered that earlier.
I've just got a notification saying it's time to check in for your flight, so I'm even more buoyant than I was 5 minutes ago. That's a notification telling me that Santa has left for North Pole. It's essentially where I'm at to draw parallels. But I just finished writing an article this morning, and in there, I called it Motocross's Olympics, so I will be editing that. I'm sorry.
Finish the podcast. What? How can you say that?
Well,
it's completely inaccurate.
I was bored of typing MXoN, the event, so I wanted another way to reference it. But speaking of reference, maybe you will like this part of the article. I ended it by saying, this event matters to me. I wrote it like a 9-year-old school project. Why does this matter to you? Motocross is so fractured. We've got Supercross, we've got Pro Motocross, we've got MXGP, we've got national championships. As a sport, we are broken compared to other sports. But the magnitude of the Motocross of Nations, the attention on it, the response from the industry, to me, the Motocross of Nations stands as our reference point and an example that we, when united, can put on an event that rivals MotoGP, rivals Formula One. As a sport, we can get in that bracket. We just don't do it consistently because of the fractures. Response?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Good definition. Also add in the history of it. I mean, what is it we up to now? 77?
No one knows.
Well, I mean, 77 is a year older than MotoGP. It's 2 years older than Formula One. The ISDE, which I think has a new name as well now, is the oldest kind of team motorsport event in the world, I think. I mean, apply it to four wheels. Le Mans, I think they had their centenary last year, so that's also pretty old as well. But yeah, I think motocross and the Motocross of Nations is unique in that way, and that there is this real sense of history about it. In fact, if I had to make a request, it would be that In-Front Motor Racing actually celebrate more of the heritage. I mean, this is something that people on the Paddock Pass podcast, if anybody listening to those shows about MotoGP will hear me banging on about all the time. But, celebrate your history, celebrate your heritage. There's a way to connect different generations with, hallmarks of the sport. I think, if you saw some old bikes from the 60s, 70s pottering around doing a couple of demo laps, then people will be like, wow, did these things actually used to make jumps? Look at the rudimentary technology. I think it's something that needs to be done more at an event, at a signature event like the Nations.
Well, maybe this isn't quite what you mean, but it's 20 years on since Team USA returned and won in 2005 at Ernée. Those names are still relevant to current fans. Why not do a reunion of sorts of that? And okay, he's contracted to Triumph, but get Ricky out there on a replica Suzuki. Like, that would evoke a similar level of emotion, I think. And that 2005 edition was poignant in the event's history, because without Team USA's effort and response at that event, maybe we don't even have the Nations now. So there are multiple ways to skin that cat. Speaking of which, your favorite Nations memory, or one that stands out, an edition that you really liked? Just before that, I also want to underline, Ricky Carmichael's importance. Ricky is different things to different people. To the younger generation, he's pretty much the voice of Supercross, and from what I see online or from what I hear, people love him, or some people think he doesn't do enough. I always thought he's pretty good, and when you have a voice of that authority and a man who's achieved that much, a rider that's achieved that much, then whatever he says, you kind of listen to, and you think, he's got to have some superiority when it comes to his opinions or whatever. But to other people, of course, he was an absolute master of motocross and supercross, just a dominator, a man who set the template for the sport in terms of the commitment you needed to give. And then to an international audience, he was like this American superstar that nobody really saw through the year, except for that one time where he turned up maybe in Europe to compete. And there was like a real idolization of RC around the 2005 to 2007, 8. I remember being at the Motocross of Nations at Donington Park. I think that was 08 or 07 or 8. 08, and 07 was Budds Creek, I think. And there were security fences around Team USA's compound. It was really like seeing Valentino Rossi at MotoGP. People were just trying to get to Ricky Carmichael and the Americans, and it was probably the most feverish I've seen fandom for Team USA, and that was built up by the likes of Carmichael through the editions from 2005. 2005 was Tedesco and Wyndham as well, right, in Ernée. Yeah.
So it's a good shout, Lewis, and he has an award. I mean, the best performing youngest rider of the Nations gets the Ricky Carmichael Award.
Yeah,
I thought that was great. Yeah, but that's really cool. I mean, that's a good way to acknowledge, his importance in the event.
Speaking of, who is Peter Chamberlain? Why don't I know this? It's a Peter Chamberlain Trophy, no?
The Peter Chamberlain Cup. Yes,
Cup, yeah.
I think he was somebody on the ACU, perhaps.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It must be on Wikipedia or something. Somebody who was, one of the original organizing founders of the race. I don't know. So yes, but favorite memories. My First Nations was 01 at Namur when France won. I think Luigi Sigi, Demarie, and Villeman, I think. Yeah, but that was even like that was like a B team for France. I'm not too sure why Michael Bouchon wasn't in that team. He would have been 250cc world champion that year, but I'll have to have a look back. Maybe he was injured or something. There was a reason why he didn't race. I was at the 2002 Motocross of the Nations, so I think which makes me one of the very, very few to have been there. And that fiasco of an event that was hastily rearranged in Belpuig in Catalonia. But memories, I think,
Memories.
yeah. I don't know, but I've seen Ben Townley race at Ernée 2015, I want to say, was just, out of nowhere. And, just the speed and everything he showed there was just like a revelation. That was fantastic to watch. Ken Roxon also to that 2010 at Thunder Valley. That was really the moment where you thought, okay, he's gone. I mean, this kid is not going to be a GP racer anymore. Big Red Bull star, very much sort of at the heart of the party afterwards in Colorado. And then, of course, in 2011, he won the MX2 World Championship and promptly buggered off. Goodness. I also loved the Motocross of the Nations 2018 in the Netherlands and watching the Brits get on the podium. That was a cool memory. Just the weather was horrendous. But yeah, I mean, it's also nice that Assen is able to fire up that kind of event again and that sort of structure. I think it's something different. Like we were saying at the start of the show, you don't have that many venues that can run the Nations. But overall, I think I have to go back to one of the best races I've ever seen, and that's 2009 at Franciacorta.
Oh.
Tony Cairoli, world champion, Chad Reed, American champion, one on a Suzuki, one on a KTM. Cairoli up front and Reed just on his back wheel for the entire moto. And you kind of think, and I don't think there was a single pass for the lead. And you may wonder why that sort of race makes or resonates so much with me, but it was so tense. And you had the crowd going absolutely bizarre, bananas, because most of them were Italian. And I just thought these are the top two races in motocross globally at the moment, really just sort of going at it. And I thought Reed's going to attack any moment now, but Cairoli just didn't wilt, didn't put one wheel wrong under all that pressure for the entire moto and won. And it was also so disappointing in the next race when they kind of both cartwheeled out along the start straight. We didn't get like a reprise of that battle. But Franciacorta was weird. And, it's Motocross of the Nation has never been back. And MXGP's never been back there. But, that event was pretty special for that moment.
Yeah, I wonder how they found it. Like, who would have come forward and said, yeah, we want to run the event of Franciacorta? What? It's a road race facility, right? But obviously not of that big importance because they don't do Formula One or MotoGP or anything. Yeah,
it's a smaller circuit. I don't think it even has the grade for running high level world championship events.
So I guess this was just the best they could aspire to. So they were like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, you know how the Italian Grand Prix for a phase used to always circulate around circuits? The Italian Federation had this policy whereby the Italian Grand Prix would always be in different places. One year it'd be Montevarchi, then Castiglione del Lago. When Majora came back, it went to Majora. There were different, also Biana we were at one year, really sort of strange venues. So I think Franciacorta was just a business enterprise. And of course, it ticked a lot of boxes for Ustream at the time. I remember a young Jeffrey Herlings. This was 2009, so it was a season before he came into, the World Championship full time. He would have been, 15 years old then. And I think he was representing the Netherlands. This was also pre-Ricky Carmichael Award, so it'd actually be interesting to see who won it that year.
Well, any time that you can look back and remember when we were gifted the brilliance of Jeffrey Herlings, it's an emotional moment. My first Motocross of Nations was 2004 at Lierop. No Team USA, but I vaguely remember certain parts of it. Not a lot. Obviously, Deruva on the two-stroke, finishing a couple of seconds behind Everts in the last race was the main standout. I remember being a bit befuddled by the layout of Lierop and how you're in the trees and you almost don't even know the race has started because the trees shield the sound so well. And then out of nowhere, the riders just come by and you're like, we're underway. Obviously, at that point, my Dutch wasn't nearly good enough to understand what the hell they were saying. But 2005 at Ernée will always be my reference point. I don't know if anything will ever top that in my mind. I'm sure that a part of it is nostalgia. But the first time that I ever got to see Ricky Carmichael ride, the first time that I experienced Ernée as a nations, well, anyone did, but 2015, 2023, they exist now as almost replicas of 2005, sequels, knockoffs, like we're trying to capture the brilliance of 2005 once more. So that is always my number one. If I had to go something since I've been working in the media, 2015 was great, and Townley was great 2015 and 2005. A rare link between the two. Majora, I loved Majora. I would honestly go with Majora.
Okay. What, the Jason Anderson one or the latter one?
The latter one? That was the last time I went to Majora.
I'm getting confused with MXGPs. Was that only 1 year for the nations?
Yeah, because that was what sunk the whole facility with permits and law stuff and government approval. And
was that 2016?
Yeah. It was also the last nations for the longest time that was dry, so that helps. But good news, we broke the back of the weather curse in 2023 at Ernée. Incredibly, we survived Matterley Basin, and the weather for this weekend looks absolutely perfect. Warm, not too hot, not too cold. So we've really gotten away from our run of horrid weather.
Well, that's it, cursed then, isn't it?
It was a horrible time, to be honest.
The 2004 nations just disappeared for me, Lewis. I think it was too similar to an MXGP, and there was no real differentiation there. And that's when we come to the argument of how much did Team USA bring to the pot. And undoubtedly they do bring something to it. And in fact, I've always kind of said that the Nations is more like a Ryder Cup. And that's also been in the news quite a bit the last 2 days. Sort of the tribalism that's invading sort of society as well as politics these days, also grabbing into sport. It'd be interesting to see, how the vibe is this weekend at Ironman. But of course, without Team USA, this event, just because of the success, the profile, the buzz from Supercross, you could argue it's diluted a little bit with the impact of the Lawrences in the last 2 to 3 years. Maybe not having Team Australia would be as much of a hit now as Team USA. But the fact that we're on American soil for this edition means that their presence is even more important. And I think what happened in Las Vegas was pretty shocking.
Yes, I would agree with that. And on that note, it should be said we're recording this Tuesday morning Eastern time, and at this point there's been no confirmation whether it will be Hayden Deegan or Justin Cooper in MX2. The shootout between the two was meant to happen yesterday, and by all accounts Deegan was a no-show, so it was pushed to Tuesday. So I guess we will get an announcement today. I think Deegan is still adamant that he's in, he wants to do it. Naturally, all involved need to see him do something of note. I think there's a requirement for him to do a certain number of push-ups, a certain number of pull-ups, just to prove that he can withstand the toll on his body. So we don't know yet whether it will be Justin Cooper or Hayden Deegan, but honestly, it doesn't change the outlook on the event too much. Either rider, Team USA will kind of be the same, I think. Of course, with Hayden, you will have a lot more fanfare and probably mudslinging from one fan base to the other, but as far as on track goes, I don't think it will make that big a difference. Which brings me to this question.
Just before my 2 cents on Deegan, it just doesn't seem really worthwhile, does it? If get healed. I know he's got a bit of a track record with the Nations and ducking out due to getting himself fixed, but it does seem a bit of a risk too far. But then maybe if the Nations next year, I don't know if that's confirmed where it's going to be next year. Is it France again?
Yeah, I know.
Then maybe he's thinking, shit, it'd be easier for me to do it and get my my credit up, in Indianapolis or Indiana rather than having to haul my ass all the way to France. So I don't know.
Well, I also think there's a degree of they want to do the Nations because it will win over some fans after Las Vegas. It will cause some negativity
Repair
to
some
banish. They can, they can control the narrative, can't they? And equally, I think it would make sense for the AMA to step in and say, "Hey, Hayden, we don't want you now. Like, this just is dumb." But I think the AMA would be scared of that because chances are, I think if you tell Hayden he can't ride when he wants to, he's not racing next year. He's certainly not going to France and certainly not going to the Netherlands to race in the sand. So I think there's a little bit of a power struggle almost between the two. But who's your favourite?
Yeah, but what if? He ends up costing the team?
But
I mean, that's something else.
The Degans march to their beat of their own drum, so I feel like almost you can't. It would be a bold move to tell the Deegan family that they can't come if they really want to and have somewhat proven that they're able. But with Tuesday, at this point, I think you call it. We're at Tuesday. Like, if you haven't seen something by now,
sure,
time to go. Like this is insane to be. I don't know if we've ever, even the years where Team USA has been at its most delicate, I don't know if we've ever gotten to a point where it's been Tuesday and we don't know what the team is. For any nation, in fact. So, an odd scenario. But Australia, Team USA, Belgium, who is your favourite? Who are you tipping to win heading in?
I also don't think we can write off France.
I have written off France quite aggressively, in fact.
Oh, wow. I think they're my underdog, if we're moving categories already. But you can't look beyond Team Australia. I'm sorry. I think Kyle Webster just has to, put in one sort of decent result, and then, you just leave the Lawrences to do their thing and pick up the other. But, we know this event just being a one-day hit can be weird. The track can be strange. There can be an incident in the start. One of them doesn't feel very good. There's all that sort of to deal with. But, for me, it's Australia, without doubt.
So I did this whole speech on LVK last night, so I'll keep it short, but I'd like your reaction to it.
Okay.
Because I haven't
listened, so I'm ready.
I, too, felt like this was going to be an Australia runaway. But then I uncovered a fact that's really caused me to go the other direction. Last year, Australia won with 26 points. And it was a fairly rock-solid performance. It's not like you can look at their results from last year and say, well, that happened, this happened, there was that crash. Obviously, they're going to do a lot better this time around. And that was the high, excluding 2021, which is an MXoN in name and nothing else. That was the highest win total since 2018. Typically, 26 points does not win you the nations. And based on what we saw last year, Hunter will be better. Jett will probably go 1-1 instead of 2-2 or whatever he went. I can't actually remember his first moto result. But I don't know if you can sit here and have the utmost confidence that Team Australia will perform that much better than 26 points. 22, sure. 20, maybe. But typically the winning score is 17 to 20, somewhere in that range. Which to me...
I think that's possible.
I guess realistically there is a very real chance that Australia sweep the motos. It's a 1-1-1. Hunter is second in the final moto behind Jett. That takes us to 5. And then, I get, okay, you need an 11th from Webster.
If the brothers are putting 7 points between them and Webster needs a 10th, if you're saying, okay, it needs to be 17 points, then I don't think that's unrealistic.
But not unrealistic, but does that not tell you that the margin for error is quite small? Because you're putting a lot of pressure on the Lawrences there to be perfect.
Yeah. Yes, true. But I just think there's too many kind of contingencies, really. There's too many variables. The one drop score is a big factor. It's the joker, as they call it, is critical. I don't know, Lewis. For me, maybe this is a little bit off topic, but the juice of this particular nation's Ironman is going to be the individual honours, because you have riders in teams who are bigger than the sum of their parts. I mean, we're considering the likes of Ken Roxon, Tim Geiger, Roman Febvre. Goodness, who else? Pick someone like Kaida Wolf, for example. What could he do? What surprises could he pull? Eli Tomac. I think that kind of battle for individual honours is going to be, just as riveting as like whoever ends up with a cup at the end of the day.
Well, I completely disagree, because I've been thinking to myself that the individual race is going to be redundant and boring as hell, because Jett will obviously win. Yes, Tim Geiser beat him last year, but Tim is still returning from injury. He's close to 100%, but I don't think he's there yet. No Jeffrey. We've seen Tomac race Jett all summer. He has nothing for him. That's my joker. I think that there is a world where Lucas Coonan turns up, has a chip on his shoulder, wants to reinforce his profile with the American industry, and puts in...
does Iago hits?
the most historic ride, and the 2025 Motocross of Nations is remembered as the Lucas Kuhnen Nations. But
Yeah, the Coldenhoff Nations.
aside from that, that's the only possibility I see of someone beating Jett. Which is where
you don't rate Febvre at all, or
well,
you've got no hopes for Roxon, or
Febvre said in a press conference in Australia he doesn't care about the nations. So I'm kind of going off that a little bit.
Yeah, but that was also done, minutes after he's won the world championship. I mean, now that he's been able to calm down, celebrate, reevaluate, he's not going to go there. And, how the French, more than perhaps any other nation, have this whole boot camp immersion experience, and they build up team morale, stuff like that. I don't think Rummen's going to go there and think, well, I'm going to toss this off if I start in 6th place.
Okay, but also, my argument to that, though, is... Do you think that Febvre was managing the championship to a degree in the second half, and can he rise? Because he wasn't in the second half. He wasn't the fastest MXGP rider. Herlings was faster consistently. Kuhnen at points, Tim at points. So do you think he can rise? There's more in the tank, a la Prado in 2023, when Prado won 2 GPs all year, came out of the nations, and was phenomenal.
The short answer to that is yes. And also, I would, as an MXGP follower, really want to see how Kai de Wolf goes up against Simon Lagenfelder, because there's no championship dynamic between those two there. So who's really going to sort of, twist the throttle more in that aspect?
Well, on that front, I'm kind of a bit lackluster as well. I think with Hayden
is Joe
now
Shimoda
injured,
there? Has Japan got a team?
Yeah, Shimoda's riding a 450 in Open.
I mean, he's like he could do the Yago hits.
Yeah, he could win the Open class for sure. I am steadfast in that opinion. But MX2, I think it'll be a whitewash. I think Kai de Wolf is going to come out with a point to prove. Potentially, it's not confirmed yet, either way, potentially his last race on a 250. He's going to be a little bit emotional and scorned from Australia. I think he comes out and dominates MX2. I really do.
I think it's a great shout. If there's anyone with the Geiger effect going there, because obviously Tim lost the championship in 2024 at the last race, is going to be him.
Yeah, no, but then again, so there you go. In my head, Jett wins MXGP running away, Kai wins MX2 running away, and then the Open individual is normally a little bit of a throwaway, no one really pays that much attention. Speaking of, who can forget Ben Watson winning the 2021 MXGP overall? Just
criminally not going.
Oh,
but yeah, team GBR. I mean, we can't even discuss it. But
it's crazy how irrelevant it's become.
Yeah, and you've also kind of agreed to my point that there's this kind of individual battles going on, and that's more interesting than, a potential tussle between, say, the Netherlands or Team Australia or Team USA.
Yes, to a degree. If Jett gets beaten, it will be the biggest story. And I guess there are possibilities for that. It's the furthest I'll go.
I mean, we've seen riders crash. We've seen riders have mechanicals. There are unseen or unplanned factors involved.
And not just Lucas. This is the Kuhnen of nations for me. Because not just Lucas, there's a little part of me, just a smidge, that believes that Sasha could come out and win a moto outright.
No.
Just balls to the wall, whole shot, and just fucking goes.
Oh, whole shot for sure. I mean, he might even whole shot against the 450s, but he hasn't got the maturity yet to handle that.
I don't know. I'm inspired by his second half of MXGP. I'm inspired by his consistency. I think I don't have it in front of me, but what was it? The last 10 rounds, he was top 4 overall at all of them. I mean, yes. Now put a video over the top of me talking of him cartwheeling in Australia, sure, but. I could see it's a Kuhnen of nations to me. They are the ultimate spoilers. I really do believe that.
Maybe Belgium can be slightly optimistic.
I don't know. Actually, I wanted to talk about that. We're jumping around categories, but so not talking about the team specifically this year, but more the nation's position in motocross as a whole. I think that Belgium are both extremely underrated yet overrated at the same time. Underrated because if my research is correct, 2024 was the first time that they finished outside of the top 6 since 1989.
Oh, okay.
That's an underrated fact that Belgium have just been there rock solid through thick and thin. You know, USA had a ninth at 2017. France in Assen, I think, was seventh or so. You know, that's an underrated fact. However, in the same breath, in the last 21 years, they've had just 2 victories, 2004 and 2013. And in fact, they've only had 5 second places. So typically, they've been a 3rd through 5th place team. And I think that we give Belgium a little more credit than that.
Yeah, I think also in non-European nations as well, there's been a drop off, really, isn't there? I mean, if we come to sort of sandy tracks or very kind of typically European tracks, then there's more. But then, like you say, the Koonens, both of them 18 years old, a little bit of that spunky American vibe about them as well. Yeah, I mean, it's a good statistic, Lewis.
Well, I mean, you're rolling your eyes, aren't you? I can feel the eye roll.
No, I'm not. Well, listen, let's. I don't know if you want to do predictions now, but we had other categories, right? Who do we think is the sort of not the worst team, but I don't know. Who do we not have much hopes for, and who do we think will be sleepers?
It goes without saying my favourite is Australia as well, just to get that across. Disappointment.
It seems a bit harsh before the race has even started.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. You know, building on the Christmas theme, there's always a kid who's disappointed on Christmas morning. He doesn't get what he wants. Who will be that nation? I think France. I think Febvre's motivation can be questioned, and in a year where he really needs to be the pillar for the team, Villan is wild, will be inconsistent, and at best, I would imagine you're going to get a 16th out of him, maybe, around there.
Yeah.
And Renault is battered, bruised, beaten, crashed again in Australia. Beaten, Australia, if you'll pardon the pun. And hates his Yamaha. Absolutely. I can't believe he signed up to do another race on the thing. He absolutely detests it. So I think that mix all of that together and it's a subpar result of 5th. Behind Belgium and the Netherlands. That's kind of my top 5, how it shakes out.
With full respect, I think Team Spain being able to repeat their top 4 finish from last year is going to be a stretch. Jorge Prado, love him or hate him, despise him, love him, whatever. He's going to be a miss for the team. You know, if he was on a KTM or a gas, different story. But of course, you know, the whole situation is explosive anyway. Ruben Fernandez has had a decent end to the season riding that prototype Honda. Guillaume Ferrez as well has looked a little bit faster. Francisco Garcia being the 3rd rider there. I'll be surprised if the Spanish get enough points to really get into the top 10. So I think that might be the most drastic change in the classification this year.
You can tell me your honest reaction to the fact that I have worked this out. Okay? Pull no punches. Did you know, Adam, that this is the first time that a Kawasaki rider has represented Spain since 2014?
Since Jonathan Barragan?
Oh, I thought your reaction was going to be, why the fuck have you worked that out? You're such an idiot.
No, I think it's quite pertinent because Barragan was a factory Kawasaki rider and also the first Spaniard to win in the Premier class, I want to say.
It was actually
Harry Garcia Vico win a 500.
So awkward.
It was Zaragoza, the last Kawasaki rider.
Yeah, it would have been a Bud rider as well, actually.
Yeah, but that wasn't factory.
No, but Kawasaki neither is Francesco Garcia.
Right.
Oh, I'm losing him. I can feel I'm losing. I had him.
You're talking about Prado. Right, okay.
No, I was just talking. No, Francesco Garcia.
Okay.
I've lost you, haven't I?
Yeah, you have. I mean, you're talking what Spaniard, what Kawasaki, and what year are you talking about?
Francesco Garcia is on a Kawasaki this year.
Yes.
And it is the first time that a Kawasaki of any kind has been on Team Spain since 2014 when Jorge Zaragoza raced for Bud Racing.
Right. Okay.
Utterly pointless crap.
Yeah, like the double MXGP champion representing Kawasaki and that whole polemic subject, and then Jonathan Barragan being a factory Kawasaki rider for quite some money and ultimately kind of sinking the factory Kawasaki MXGP team after dislocating his hip and having an injury. You know, these facts don't matter at all. Spain and Kawasaki do not mix.
I mean, there you go. My stat has some merit to it. You've just built on it. That's how great stories are formed. You put building blocks together. I think that goes without saying that Spain won't get top 5, but just to be clear again, if Prado, Fernandez and Fares are on top form and that team can come together, that can be a winning team. I'm kind of waiting for that moment. No?
Yeah, podium team. I still wouldn't really put them in the winning category.
Really?
Who's your disappointment then?
I said France.
Oh, yes.
I did a whole passionate speech.
Seriously?
Yeah, that was okay. I'm really losing
How can you say France with their track record and the fact they have the MXGP world champion? I know you said about Renault, and I get that.
It's all relative.
But Vallon is like a... Right, okay.
Like, ultimately, for France...
It sounds to me like you're being vindictive against Kawasaki.
Don't start that. No, it's all relative. Realistically, anything outside of a podium is going to be a disappointment for France. And I don't think that they will be a podium team. Right?
Okay, I disagree.
I think this is the most we've ever disagreed on a podcast. Have we agreed with anything so far? Is this some sort of slight at my Christmas analogy? You hated it that much, but now you're trying to tear me down?
I think we're not on the right. We're not on the same wavelength.
Okay.
On this show.
Underdog.
But let's move on to the next one and see. Underdog, right?
I'm going to repeat the exact thing I said on LBK last night.
Go on then.
They run the best GP of the year. You love them. We all want to live there. What a place. It's Latvia. Good team. Really, again, Adam. Really.
No, I'm tempted to say Italy.
See, quietly, there is some Italy hype building on social media and whatnot. I'm not feeling it.
Why?
I don't know, because I can't even justify it myself, because Adamo will be great. Bonacorsi will be the biggest underdog as far as a rider goes.
Yeah. He'll be great. He'll be either or.
The
really.
American fans will utter, who is that tall man on a Fantic? Or the white, who is the tall man on the white bike? Many times, I predict that. And Caroli should be... I think that I'm a little bit tainted by the fact that pulling Caroli out of retirement screams weakness for the team. But I don't think that's actually the reality. Yeah. But I think the optics of it scream weakness, and I think I'm being swayed by that.
Okay. Yeah, okay. But I still think that they're a little bit of a sleeper team. You know, I think they have more potential in their results. I mean, what are they? I'm looking at the list. Were 8th overall last year. I could see them doing better than that.
Yeah, I would bet on that. I think they're a 6, 7, 8 team.
Yeah.
Behind France in 5th. Just to go on my Latvia point, blinded by my love of this event, not getting much sleep, the excitement's taking its toll. I did message Jonas a couple of days ago and said, call me crazy, but do you think Latvia can podium?
And what did he reply?
Let's just say I was put in my place, and I think Paul's now thinks less of me as a result.
Paul's is a realist.
I think he thinks less of me, similar to you and everyone else after listening to this podcast. But I don't know. I just thought the Regulis brothers are capable, and Jonas is too. So whilst none of those riders are going to ever win a moto or finish in the top 3 individually, I could see them either this year or in the future getting to a point where they stack results between 7 and 14, and at the end of the evening, consistency pays, and there they are. Okay, best way to put it. 2015, Belgium got 3rd with 56 points. If that sort of event unfolds again where 56 points is the threshold for 3rd, I think Latvia could get 56 points.
Lewis, I just had a flashback to you doing a preview show 2 years ago about the ERNA Motocross of Nations, and you said that Christian Craig might end up on the podium, which made me fall off my chair when I was listening to it.
Yeah, I can't deny it.
I kind of want to bring it back up again just to say I think we're talking too much. Maybe we need to be a bit more concise and get through this podcast, because there is potential for just insane predictions that just don't have any sense or coherence.
I think that's the beauty of this race, though. You preview Supercross, you preview MXGP, and you're colouring between the lines quite aggressively because it is, although you haven't seen anything yet, it is all very clear how things should go. The nations, all sense goes out the window, well, with me especially, apparently, and you can kind of colour outside of the lines. Santa's brought a colouring book, and here we are.
Oh my goodness! The only way that Christian Craig would have got on the podium in an A is if he just like skipped past security and managed to jump on and join the rest of the teams. There was no way on earth that was going to happen just because of the poor man's circumstances and trying to get around a track like an A.
That's honestly the funniest thing you've ever said.
I loved your optimism, though, Lewis. That's what There was charm in the belief, so I kind of went with it.
Okay. Final category, country you have a soft spot for. Results don't matter, but for some reason, when you check the results, you're going to go, oh, good for them, or oh, how did they do? Who do you have a soft spot for?
Switzerland.
I feel like I used to be Switzerland, but not anymore. Because I feel like
I love the way. Sorry, I'm going to finish. I love the way the Swiss just make this really really strong effort every single nations. They raise money, they do a lot of initiatives. There's a real kind of open and pleasant team vibe about the whole movement, and I like the way they go about it every year. They get there, they get it done, and sometimes they've had amazing teams. I mean, having Arnaud Tonus, Jeremy Sewer, Valentin Guillot when he was sort of in his Grand Prix peak, that was a team that could easily have grabbed a podium. They have a bit of a soft spot, I think. It'll be interesting to watch Jeremy racing again with Guillot, but also a little nod towards Team Ireland because, the Irish, just, again, one of those nations and teams that always turn up with a team. And I want to give props to Martin Barr because I think he might be sort of similar to Tano Leok. And I'm disappointed that Tano is not representing Team Estonia for like the 46th time or something like that. But Martin, I think, is probably reaching Leok-esque numbers of representation for Ireland. He's got to be up there.
Well, I do have this stat, which you may enjoy a little bit more. So of the active riders this weekend, yes, Martin Barr will make his 19th appearance for Team Ireland. Caroli will make his 16th for Team Italy. Koulas will start for the 14th time. Sewer for the 13th. And Koldenhoff for the 12th. And those are the highest.
They are your best stats in some time.
There you go. It's all in an article that is positioned next to my Spain Kawasaki stat. So we're really.
Where can you find said article?
I haven't published it yet, but this. My plan is with my content is this podcast is kicking it off. So this goes up first, and then the articles follow.
Okay.
I really care, maybe too much. Also, fun fact: you have a trio of riders this year who are racing for nations when they've raced for different nations previously. Dylan Walsh raced for New Zealand in 2019, Britain this year. Obviously, we know Koulas has raced for Estonia for some time, started out with Finland. And Joaquin Polly raced for FIM Latin America last year, Argentina this year. And I've lost Adam
Puerto Rico
again.
got a team?
No, I don't. Puerto Rico have given up. Well, and you
I
know
always
what?
like the.
Good riddance.
Go on.
They made a mockery of the 2018
No.
Motocross of Nations.
There's Puerto Rico there, Team 29.
Oh, okay.
Sebastian Belez, Ivan Aldama, and Rodney Gonzalez.
Well,
Right, 2 Kawasaki's and a Gas.
that makes more sense for Puerto Rico, but I've completely checked out of Puerto Rico after they made a mockery of the race I love in 2018. And
I love the fact that Zach Osborne won a qualifying race at Donington Park in 2008 on a 450, his first sort of race. That was glorious.
yeah, I'm fine with that, just not Pastrana, Wyndham and Ronnie Mack as they tried to field. That's too far. They've lost me at that point. Well, that's our categories. What did we say? I can't remember what we said. We wanted to burst through our categories to get to what? What were we going to do?
We were going to have
Predictions.
basic framework as well, and no.
We were just going to do predictions. weren't we?
There's criticisms, things that we don't like about the nations, and then predictions.
Okay. Well, I love the Nations.
But I feel like I've said this many, many times, and that is that the Nations is outdated. At a time when, Formula One is considering more sprint races and shorter race durations. I think the three moto format mix in the classes is something that's time honored and great about the Nations, but then the scoring is complex. If you don't have a good commentator who's on the ball around the track, nobody knows what's really going on. You maybe have 10% of the attendance, or maybe that's being a little bit harsh, maybe 25% of the overall of the attendance at the circuit are really getting their calculators out and doing the math permutations to see who can actually lift the bloody cup. So I think it's too complex. That there has to be a simpler system for it. Bizarrely, I don't mind the ballot for qualifying positions. I always think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
If you have Team Australia down in 33rd position in the gate, then that's always something that's a bit, just a bit of a lottery factor. But I don't know. How do you adjust the Motocross of Nations going forward just to make it more... just to make it simpler, because I think it needs to be that way.
I mean, it kind of follows the same pattern as SMX. Like, SMX want you to not know who's going to win until the riders cross the finish line. The MXoN, I don't think that was a calculated decision, but that's where we're at. And you know what? I can appreciate it. I don't want us to be in a scenario where we know so much that heading into the final moto, you've got people leaving because they're like, well, Jett's won, blah, 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 blah. I like the fact that more often than not, when you calculate the points after the second moto, what you believe to be true is completely wrong. There's always a nation that's 14th after the second moto and you write them off, and then for some reason, once they drop their score, they're second. And you're like, oh. So
but then that's
it.
good. Yeah, that's good because it shakes it up. And also, I really subscribe. I don't subscribe, but I appreciate that if it's broken, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Kind of, what is it? No, if it's not broken, don't fix it, or whatever it is. I really get on. I appreciate that. If people are coming to the Nations, people are watching it. The crowds are still turning up. Then obviously there's nothing really sort of smashed about it. So just crack on. But I do hope that the Nations can also thrive and appeal to a bigger audience because of that uniqueness and what we talked about earlier in the show. And for that, I think it does need to be sort of simplified in some way. And how good would it be in the final moto if you knew that, if that rider picks up 2 positions, then they're going to make the podium, or if this rider here is under threat, if he loses that place, then they're going to lose the overall victory. Unless you have, if you're watching on TV, if Paul Malin and his co-commentator, they're usually really on it. Unless he's able to relay that information and the circuit PA and the commentator or whatever are able to do that, then it's hard to sort of really appreciate the drama of the situation.
Yes, I agree with that, but I don't know, I feel like that would lead us to a boring Nations or a more boring Nations. I think, although fundamentally it wouldn't change much, I think subconsciously and just in the ether, the Nations would lose a spark. But then again, this is the most traditionalist that I get. Like, don't mess with my Nations. I do wonder if, and I think I've asked you this before, if other sports, the MotoGP press room, laugh at us a little bit. Like, is this a little bit too gimmicky? Like, is it, because no other sport does this. Like, are we a little bit, I don't know what you could call it. Like, is this a little bit embarrassing for us that we're doing this?
No, but if I had to speculate, I would say the interest in the Nations, and there is, like in MotoGP, in the paddock, is more about who did what and what nation prevailed rather than immersing themselves in the drama of the second or third moto and the knowledge that 2 to 3 overtaking moves really influences the overall classification. So that's maybe where again it falls down. It's not just like a straight race to the flag. I don't have the answer, Lewis, but I'm really not succeeding here in expressing my dissatisfaction or the way I'd like it to change. But I just want someone to really be able to absorb the whole nation's experience and understand why it's important and how it can be so dramatic without having to, get out a fucking calculator.
I think that's a fair statement. I can't disagree with that, but I don't necessarily support it, let's say. In summary, also, I think it's worth mentioning, if Herlings was on the Dutch team, they would be my favourites.
Oh,
If
right.
Vial was on Team France, the picture would be drastically different to me. I think then France is a podium bet. Who else are we missing? If Chase was on Team USA, I think that changes the picture also, both individually and team classification-wise.
Well, in 2018, it didn't really matter, did it?
What's that?
Having Chase on Team USA.
Well, first of all, it was 2022, Adam.
No, in 2018 he was racing, right? And
No.
Team USA was disastrous.
No, he wasn't on the team in 2018. It was Tomac, Plessinger, and Barsha.
So then, what was the nations where it just didn't, Team USA sort of faltered? Was that 2022?
Yeah, no, that was 18 with Tomac, Barsha, and Plessinger.
Why do I have this?
2022, Chase was on the team and they won. That was their first win since 2011.
Right, okay. I apologise. I'm way off.
We don't accept Chase slander on Lewis podcast, Adam. Do you want to throw a rock at Jeffrey while you're at it? Maybe you got some Ben shit to stir.
No, it's the general disagreement theme of the podcast and my age and my recent illness probably affecting my memory.
Obviously, if Prado was on Team Spain, they're much bigger players. No Max Anstey and no Ben Watson on Team Great Britain is terrible. Anstey, because the bike was too expensive, and Ben too, actually. And
how does that even work?
Well,
how can it be too expensive to move in your own country?
Yes, the Max one is unexplainable, but then so is the Ben one, because they actually had... Ben was going to use a Beta USA bike. It was all agreed. That's why he's on the entry list. And then at the last minute, that just was no longer available.
Yeah, but I understand that from a factory that are just a bit haphazard and wayward as Beta, but then for Star Yamaha not to be able to get Max at 250 there, that seems incomprehensible.
I think it's 25 grand.
Really, to ship a bike across the US, a couple of states?
Just drive it for 10 hours.
Yeah, I mean, put it in the back of a van.
It's not a bad business to be in.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think people over the years as well, the nations have come up with some very creative excuses not to take part.
The rumour was last year it cost 75 grand to get Maxes, or to get... For if you wanted like the full Max Anstey experience with Star Yamaha, the rumour was 75 grand for Matterley.
It doesn't make sense.
No. And then underdog-wise, it's irrelevant now, but if both Kevin Horgmo and Cornelius Tundal were healthy, Norway would be far and away my underdog. But alas, we wait for another year. What we don't have to wait for is unbreakable levers. Yes, a lot of nations will wish that they had these this weekend because they could really salvage some results in a very precarious situation. Snapping levers, that's weak and outdated. Polarsport's APT unbreakable levers bend on impact, bend back to their original shape and let you keep riding. With a stainless steel core built for war, they're rock solid, strong and designed to match the OEM levers, shape and specs. Polarsport's APT unbreakable levers stand up to every single challenge. Thank you to Polarsport, and in fact, Kevin Horgmo is a Polarsport rider, as is Isaac Gifting, who will be on Team Sweden, and I bet there's going to be an unusual amount of fanfare around Gifting because he became a bit of a cult hero in America after his Uddevalla heroics. So I bet that he's going to feel the vibe and the reception from that. Well, while we're here, let me tell you about Prox as well. Yes, Prox racing parts. If they wanted to find a bike, or make a bike, I should say, for Max or Ben to race, what they would have done is bought a stock bike and then gone to pro-x.com for the best aftermarket parts, because that would have been the way to make their bike meet factory or meet the status that they were riding previously or all year long. Yes, and you too can head to pro-x.com to get whatever you want for your bike. They cater to every single machine, no matter the year, make or model, and the endless opportunities there, no matter what country you're in as well. This is a worldwide business with dealers all around the globe. The opportunities will blow your mind. So thank you to Prox and Polarsport for all of their support of this very podcast. Final thoughts, or is there anything else on your mind?
I think we just have to give our comments on the Jeffrey Herlings situation. I don't know if you've had any feedback from him, Lewis, but it does seem ridiculous that he's not there and he's actually taking part in the Western Beach race.
He's not. I don't think.
Oh, he's not?
No, he's not.
Oh.
I'll tell you more.
Okay,
podcast, but
so
no, he's not.
Herlings should have been, well, he was lined up to take part in probably one of the most prestigious beach races in Europe. Little Quay, I think might be the big one in France, but then Western Supermare is huge in the UK as well, or used to be. I remember I've been there once and I was quite impressed by the size of the crowd that went to watch. It just seems ridiculous that a rider of his ilk would be there racing in the sand on a sort of British beach rather than in sort of the hot spot of the international motocross community. And I don't know whether it was his decision, Lewis, or the federation's decision, or it was a KTM decision as well in terms of mustering the resources. But what a shame.
Yes, the event will lack something without our bright light there. But it does make sense. Like, the team was selected while Herlings was sidelined. It makes sense to say to Fantic and Yamaha, hey, send the bikes. Like, no questions asked. Just prepare. Be at 100%. It all makes sense. It's just not quite what you want to believe.
But Lewis, there's a team that's about to decide his lineup hours before the event.
Yeah, but the local team.
Yeah, well, apparently you can't you can't ferry a bike across the States in the back of a van.
Well, that's true. I don't know. I did message him. I said, what should I tell people when they ask me why you're not racing the Nations? And he said, well, I wasn't selected, which is true. So, yeah.
Well, we know if you're actually going to take part in the pre-event press conference, Lewis, I expect you to stand up, notebook in hand, hold the microphone and grill Team Netherlands on why, their greatest ever racer, which is not me using any hyperbole. Herlings is the most successful racer from the Netherlands, is not on the three-man team.
Breaking news bulletin. Hi. I've just had an anonymous text that Deegan has called it and he's not racing the Nations. I don't know if this is true. This is speculation at this point, but we know that the decision was going to be made today. But
Lewis, this is not live, so by the time this gets out, it's going to be old news.
Well, if I'm wrong, then ignore it. If I'm right, you heard it here first. Well, you didn't, but you would have if it was live.
Yes.
Give me some credit, please.
Well, I did like your robot impersonation. That's quite good.
Well, I'm a man of many talents. All I have to say, Adam, is I am extremely sorry that you had to put up with this podcast. I feel like every single word that I spoke let you down, and your opinion of me shrunk to a point where it's now non-existent. And I hope...
Nonsense.
Oh, I know.
Nonsense. No, not that you're speaking nonsense. I think your claim.
Oh.
I think if you stand up in the press conference and finally ask that question, then all will be forgiven.
Okay, the pressure's on me now, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry to you and the listeners for having to put up with my craziness, but that is what the Nations is, crazy. And you fly out tomorrow. So, and as of course we've teased, we will endeavour to do podcasts Friday and Saturday night from the track or the hotel, depending on schedules. If we're at the track, maybe we can even get a rider in. I did have confirmation. Saturdays with Sewer is coming back. He's in.
Yes.
Great. So, first time in 3.5 years. A lot's changed. So that'll be exciting if it happens. And yeah, a lot to look forward to. We'll do our best.
Well, he might snub you like you snubbed him at Majora last year. I mean, this is also a factor.
When did I snub him?
On Majora, there wasn't a Saturday with Sewer, was there?
No, there wasn't. But I think he was too depressed.
Oh, okay.
And whilst I think he's too depressed on this occasion, we're just going to push through. We're just going to kind of like try. No, if there's anything you want to see though from the Nations, I'm all ears. We're all ears. It is a big weekend. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to see. And I want it to be the best for everyone, no matter if you're home or present. And if you're at the event, stop us and say hi. I'll happily talk about the Nations with anyone.
Yes.
Right. Done? Happy?
Done.
Okay,
Yes.
Thank you everyone for listening and watching. The next time you see us, we'll be recapping the ballot, the pre-race press conferences, and the paddock gossip. But, yeah, so we look forward to that. Thank you for watching and listening, and we will see you in just a couple of days.